Round three team, welcome back once again. We got together this time. Thank you for bearing with me, whoever was rocking with me last night. We are going to dive deep again into the stats, as you see here. JDM versus Carlos Prates this Saturday, UFC in Perth. I am more than excited about this matchup. Like I said yesterday, this is my most anticipated main event of the year. I don't think there's been a main event that's topped this since, and I don't think there's going to be one that's going to beat it moving forward. I think this is the best matchup on paper, and I think it's going to be the best matchup in the cage as well. So, enough babbling about it. I just kind of wanted to give you a nice little visual here. I'm pretty sure this photo is spliced together, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to switch it up from yesterday. Yesterday, I kind of focused on JDM. Today, I'm going to start with Carlos Prates. Since all of yesterday was all Jack Della Maddalena, today I'm going to switch it up. Okay, so I mean, you can think of it like this. I mean, if you were here yesterday watching and you're like, man, he's doing this over again. Well, it's like, a different flavor of ice cream, right? So that's how we're going to rock it. So we're going to dive into Carlos Prates first, and we're going to do the same thing as yesterday. What you guys are going to help me do is study a little bit and dive into the numbers for each one of these guys and make my prediction for Thursday, right? So, Carlos Prates, the nightmare. I mean, he has all of his finishes in the UFC have come by knockout, and they've been very violent. So, if you're into numbers, if you're into stats, if you're into kind of figuring out trends of fighters, you are in the right spot, because that's what I love to do, and that's why I got into doing this. So, Carlos Prates, he lands 3.77 significant strikes a minute, but he absorbs 4.53 significant strikes a minute. So he's there to be hit, and there to be lit up. He doesn't mind it because he can take a punch. You go over to his takedowns. I mean, he's not going for much. 0.12 takedown average per 15 minutes. His takedown accuracy is 100%. So whoever he had taken down in his career or attempted to, he got him down at an effective clip, apparently. Defensively speaking, he's only he's at an 80% defense rate and a submission average of 0%. So those numbers really tell the story. Very, very minimal on the grappling side and very heavy on the striking side. And that is Carlos Prates, and that is why he's in this main event. So if we move on down, what I like to do when I'm looking at numbers, I personally like to go over the last 5 fights. These guys, they haven't really been fighting in the UFC for that long, so I mean, we can go all the way down here. Mitch Ramirez, Trevin Giles, Charlie Radke, Li Jingliang, Neil Magny, Io Machado Gary, Jeff Neal, and Leon Edwards, and the only one who gave him any kind of trouble was Gary. And as you see here, he doubled him up on significant strikes, and that's actually a fight that I have teed up here, so we will get into that shortly. But if you look across the board, I mean, KO punch, KO punch, KO knee, KO punch, KO punch. I mean, this guy, he's doing it. Spinning back elbow against Jeff Neal, and then another punch against Leon Edwards. It's this guy, he is so clinical, and he is such an effective striker. I love watching him strike because he's very accurate and he's very patient because he knows that all he needs is 1 or 2. I mean, you go back to that Ian Gary fight here, 3 fights down, which was his only loss in the UFC. That's a fight that's similar to the Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards fight, because Leon Edwards dominated Nate Diaz, right, for 5.5 rounds, 5 minutes and 5 rounds in 4 minutes, right? But the last minute of that 5th round, Nate Diaz caught Leon Edwards with a shot, and that's all anyone ever talked about. The only reason I bring that fight up is because it's very similar to the fight with Carlos Prates and Ian Gary. Ian Gary dominated the whole entire fight, but the only thing people remember for that fight is Gary being on all 4s after getting caught and dropped, okay, by Prates and crawling away. I mean, he there's plenty of memes out there on it. So that's a fight that you can really go back and take a lot from, because Carlos Prates is patient, but sometimes too patient. And I think he was a little bit too patient in that fight, because as you see, when he started to turn it on in that 5th round, I mean, he put Gary down and didn't have much trouble doing it. So I would have loved to see Prates start a little bit quicker in that fight, personally. But that's really what I like to look at. I like to go down and look at the last 5 fights, how they're winning. Just a kind of a bare bone here, as you see, of significant strikes. That's what you see is the KD is knockdown, the STR is significant strikes, and the TD is takedown. For if there's anyone in here who just doesn't know, so I appreciate everyone who's been in and out of the chat with me, rocking. We're just doing a deep dive in the numbers. We're going to be here for a while. You guys can, in and out, go get some food, do this and that. But I'm going to be locked in the whole time, digging into these guys' numbers and figuring out some trends. So if you look all the way down, I mean, yeah, it's like we talked about takedown wise. Leon Edwards landed 2 takedowns on him out of desperation. Ian Gary landed 4 takedowns on him out of game planning. Okay. And okay, Neo Magny, he took down Neo Magny, I guess. I don't really remember that. And then Mitch Ramirez ended up taking him down. So Carlos Prates is very, very good at staying on the feet and keeping the fight in his world. So what we're going to do now is move on to his fight here with Ian Machado Gary, because this is another thing that I like to do when I'm digging into numbers and just look at how people win and how they lose, right? So as you see, this was essentially a boxing match. 185 significant strikes to the head attempted for Ian Gary and only 97 for Carlos Prates. That goes to that patience that we're talking about, right? Sometimes a little bit too patient. So you're in a 5-round fight and you got someone doubling you up on significant strikes attempted and almost tripling you up on, well, how about doubling you up on landed strikes, right? So to the head, right? And that's where these guys were basically directing their strikes a majority of the fight. A little bit of body work here and there, and a lot of it was at distance, right? I mean, and that's how Prates usually is able to keep his fights. If you look at the takedowns that Machado Gary got, right? Okay, he got 4 of 19, which is, it's crazy. Yeah, Machado turned into he was an absolute wrestler in this fight. I don't quite remember him attempting 19 takedowns. That's wild. I don't know if that was a lot in the clinch and him just attempting them from there, but I don't remember a lot of double legs and single leg attempts. I could be wrong, but that's a fight. This is a fight that I'm going to go back and tape within the next day or two. So this is just a little preview for that. But yeah, 4 of 19 on takedowns and only 3 minutes of control time. So he was controlling them for less than a minute each time he got him down. So Prates is extremely good at getting back to his feet. But I don't like the significant strikes that he absorbed in this fight, especially against someone who's a technical striker like Ian Gary, because like I mentioned yesterday in the stream that I ended up having to scrap, Gary and JDM are much different strikers. So I don't really like to compare them. And Ian Gary is much, much bigger than JDM. So that's another factor in this fight that I feel has to be taken into consideration, because Carlos Prates is going to, have an inch or two in size. He's going to have the strength, and I'll tell you, he's going to have the accuracy. I just don't think he's going to have the volume in this matchup against JDM. So that's essentially what I like to look at for fights. We're going to move on to this next one, but I will touch on the judging really quick before I do move on to the next fight that I want to break down. 48-47, 48-47, and a 49-46. I cannot remember if there was a point deducted in this fight. I don't recall that. But 2 48-47s is absolutely wild to me, because that just goes to show that last minute or two of the fight, like we talked about a little while ago, obviously carried a lot of weight to these judges. Obviously those significant strikes that Ian Gary landing weren't that significant, because I mean, you ask me, this should have been 50-45s across the board looking at these numbers, right? I mean, significant strikes 126-63, literally evenly doubled him up. I mean, that shouldn't even be close, but that just goes to show the power and just the cage presence that Carlos Prates possesses. So we're going to move on to his next fight here, and that, oh, sorry, I skipped far. little bit turned around here, guys. Sorry. There it is. All right. So Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. This is one that I wasn't sure how this fight was going to go down going into it. I really wasn't. I didn't watch it live. I watched the replays a couple times since. But, and if anyone's out there in the chat, can you please just let me know? Let me know, anyone who's active right now. Let me know if I'm echoing. Can you tell me if you hear an echo at all? I just want to be sure. Yesterday I had a little bit of an echo problem, so I won't pause too much and just wait for an answer. But please, if you don't mind, just dropping a comment. If you are just unable or able to, if you're driving, please don't stop driving to comment. But just please let me know if you're hearing an echo at all. So because I will have to do another audible here, which I hope not. But back into this fight here. Yeah, I feel like Leon just he lulled himself. He got lulled to sleep, I should say, by Carlos Prates. You know, if you look, Carlos Prates caught him in the second round. What was this? Yeah, 1 minute and 28 seconds left in the second round, and it was just that pace that he carries. He kind of just, you know, Prates kind of just acts like he's hanging out and chilling in the cage. You know what I mean? You know, popping shots out here and there, and then just like kind of like a snake almost. He just really strikes. You know, just very aggressively with straight punches, and it's awesome. It's awesome to watch. And he put Leon down, and you can tell. I mean, he was out before he even hit the ground because Leon was smiling. You go back and watch that replay. Leon was smiling on his way to the ground, which is absolutely insane to watch. But just dig into these numbers a little bit. Leon Edwards, 12 of 17 for significant strikes, but, you know, 70% accurate. So, I mean, he was hitting the target. But look at where Leon was landing. Leon's usually a leg kicker, right? So I can already tell you, 8 of 9 for leg kicks and only 4 of 8 to the head for Leon Edwards. And that's exactly, I didn't even have to look at that to tell you that story. That's really how Leon fights. He's a, you know, kind of a pot shotter, pitter patter, you know, leg kick here and there. If Leon's got someone heavily outgunned like he's had early in his career, you see the damage that he could do, but, you know, not at this stage, not with the damage that he's taken in the wars that he's been through. And just, I feel like the motivation that he has overall as a fighter going against someone like Carlos Prates, this was a matchup I feel like kind of was a make or break for him, and it broke him. So, yeah, 32 significant strikes is all it took from him. I mean, this guy, he hits so hard, and he is just so impressive with the way that he throws his punches. Go down here to just a percentage breakdown, which is a little bit of what we're going to get into next for Carlos Prates. As you see, Carlos Prates is the blue, and Leon Edwards is the red. So from distance to the head, 38%, just over 30% for both these fighters. To the body, 9%. Out to the legs, just over 50% for both. So not really long enough of a fight to really get any numbers out of this as far as that's concerned. But as you see, a lot of it was from distance, and that's a lot of fights you'll see Carlos Prates from distance. Those are the matchups that the UFC's given him, because I feel like he's exciting in that fashion. And that's just the way that he's able to keep the fight. Like I've said numerous times throughout this video so far, it's just he's able to keep the fight upright, similar to who he's going against this weekend. So we are going to move on here to, now this is a section that I like to show you guys, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these deep dives on matchups that I'm really excited for. I'm not going to do this every week, I won't lie to you, but I've just been so excited for this matchup all year long. So what you see on the screen here are significant strikes from distance landed at the head, body, and leg, right? These are numbers that a lot of these, you know, a lot of us, I should say, a lot of us cappers and a lot of us predictors, if you want to call us that, of MMA, you know, there's websites and these guys have you sign up and pay so much a month for these numbers here. And I just encourage you all who's watching this live now, I appreciate everyone who's rocking with me and who's watching the replay. If you're making bets, if you're putting money on stuff, guys, which is something that I don't really recommend personally. But if you're doing that, just be smart about it and do your own research. You'll hear a lot of people say, do your own studying. Don't just blindly tail. And I am a huge advocate of that. Don't just go on a video, look at what someone's picking, and just pick that. Don't do that. At least go through and look at records. At least go through and look at who they've fought a little bit and what they do well, and at least the trend they've been on in the last few fights, wins, losses, knockouts, whatever it may be. I encourage you to do that because it makes things much, much easier and a lot less stressful when you're watching fights. And then, hey, when say you do lose a few bucks, it's like, okay, all right, at least I put my due diligence in and I didn't just, follow someone's behind, right? You did your own work. So we are going to dig here in to Prates' distance striking stats. So if you look at his, I want you to, I'm not going to bore you too much. So I want to focus here. Just kind of look at where my cursor's at. I'm going to highlight some stuff. We're going to focus here, and then I'll work my way back and explain things, okay? So this kind of breaks up the percentage that they land at the body, the head, and the leg. And this is kind of what I like to just go through when I'm skimming through on prelim fights, just to kind of get a gauge at, okay, is this a fighter that mixes up the target? Or is this a fighter that just headhunts? As you can see, Carlos Prates, and later on when we get to him, you'll see JDM, very similar. These gentlemen, they mix up the target very, very well. When you're watching them fight, you really don't see it because they blend it so well. That's what's great about it. You'll think, man, these guys are they're headhunting, they're just trying to take each other's heads off, right? Or they're just trying to go for knockouts, right? No, I mean, these guys, they're mixing in plenty of leg kicks. They're digging shots to the body. They are being true mixed martial artists, and it's awesome to watch. So if you look up here, I'm going to highlight this. Significance, distance, body strikes landed, okay? Against Leon Edwards, he was 1 for 2, okay? He didn't go to the body much. The next one here that I'm going to highlight is to the head. 7 for 15, right? So that's all it took is 15 punches to the head for Prates to put Leon Edwards down. So just take note of that. I mean, this guy is very clinical. And then leg strikes. So he mixed in plenty of leg kicks, as you see. He was 11 for 13 on leg kicks. The TSL is total strikes landed, okay? 24 total strikes landed for Carlos Prates against Leon Edwards. That's all it took for this guy to put him down. 20 strikes, man. 20 strikes. Clinical. Absolutely clinical. And then total strikes attempted is 35. So, I mean, this guy, this is what I've always said about Carlos Prates is he's very, very accurate. He does not miss that often. He doesn't. Go down to his next fight against Jeff Neal. Look at it. To the body from distance. 8 for 8. I mean, this guy. And then you go to the head. I mean, he was headhunting here. I can't brag too much for him here. He was only 17 for 34 with shots to the head. But these guys were just in there throwing. I mean, you go back and watch that fight. It only lasted just under a round, which gets me because this is one that I was unfortunately on the sports book with, and I had Prates by KO in the second or third round, and he got the knockout with 1 second to go in the first round. Crazy spinning back elbow. Go back and watch that highlight. Jeff Neal, Carlos Prates, crazy fight, and it wasn't a terrible outing by Jeff Neal. It is just a rough knockout. I mean, he got laid flat, which he also did in his fight after that too. So I think Jeff Neal might be on the decline, and I think that knockout might have really started it, to be honest with you, because Jeff Neal was looking pretty good before that fight. Go on down here. Ian Gary, the fight we were just that I just had teed up for you guys, right? That we broke down deeply. 15 of 19 to the body, 26 of 84 to the head, right? So that just goes to show how defensively sound that Ian Gary is. I mean, Ian Gary is a technician, and I don't know if JDM is going to be able to avoid that many strikes that Ian Gary did. I mean, Ian Gary had the size on him, and he has that slick in and out movement, right? He has that slick movement from the outside, I should say. And he just stuck to a game plan in that fight. It was game plan, and that's how Ian Gary fights in general. But he really showed his game planning skills in that fight. It was really impressive. And I'm not an Ian Garry fan at all, and I'm saying that. And then to the legs, you know, he wasn't going to the legs because he knew that he was down and he knew he needed to finish, right? So only 9, he only attempted 11 strikes to the legs, which, I mean, you're really usually not punching people in their legs, right? So only 11 leg kicks attempted. Total strikes landed in that fight, 64, as we talked about, out of 132. So yeah, that one was concerning, right? So that shows that if you're a little bit patient and you kind of pick from the outside and you go grapple heavy, you can give the Prates some problems, right? I don't know if JDM's going to do that. I do not know if JDM's going to do that. So now, with that being said, I'm not going to go down the whole entire career. We're going to switch gears here to JDM, and we're going to do the same exact thing. So now you guys kind of get the routine. This is just a little tidbit of how I break down fights and how I make our prediction for Thursday with my main event and my co-main event picks. So just to kind of give you guys a little behind the scenes look, and just to give you guys what a lot of these guys charge you a ton of money for, you know, that they put all this information in little platforms, and they dress it up all nice. But at the end of the day, it's just Google stuff. Just Google stuff and do your own homework. You will feel much better in the end doing your own work. And it's like, okay, I lost it that way, right? Opposed to just following somebody who's doing the same exact thing. You know, that's all it is. They just have software. That's all you're paying for with these little websites, is just software that they have to put all this information in and calculate it in a nice, pretty way. That's how I look at it anyway. So I prefer to do it this way. I guess you could say the old school way. And I have fun doing it. I have a lot of fun doing this. So I hope everyone who's been in and out of the chat and who watches this on the replay has fun too, because I mean this is a big part of just the MMA world, is just looking at numbers deeply and understanding trends and understanding fighters in a different way. Not just punches and kicks, right? But just understanding how they throw the punches and kicks, why they do it, when they do it, right? And that's what we're going to get into with JDM a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into him because JDM is he's a little bit more disciplined than Carlos Prates, and he fights a little bit more to a striking, he's a more striking game plan, I should say. And he has just more technical boxing, I would say. I like Carlos Prates' power, and I mean, he has a nice unorthodox style of the way he throws, but JDM, if you want to learn how to throw a punch, learn how to box, I mean, you watch this guy fight, and we're going to get right into it. JDM lands 5.5 significant strikes a minute, but he does absorb 3.84 significant strikes a minute. Okay, so he's there to be hit. He likes to go back and forth. He likes to hang out in the pocket. I mean, you go down to the right side of this little column here, and I'll highlight it to kind of show you exactly what I'm talking about. Just right here. That, I mean, not much to talk about, just like his opponent, okay? He does not prefer the fights to be on the ground. He prefers to be upright. He prefers to be throwing his hands. I'll say it every time I talk about JDM just because I find it very, very impressive, and I feel like it's worth mentioning every time. Jack Della Maddalena is a true switch fighter. Listen to me when I'm telling you this. There are not a lot of fighters in the UFC, let alone MMA, who actually throw combinations and throw numerous strikes out of both stances. When you see a lot of fighters switch stances, they throw a jab, a low kick, and a lot of the times it's just to get a different look themselves or to give their opponent a different look. JDM is completely different. JDM has completely different striking. It's on a completely different level than a lot of people in the UFC and a lot of people in MMA in general. This guy, he pumps out jabs. He'll pump out a piston jab, boom, boom, switch stance, do the same exact thing. He looks like he's training sometimes when he's fighting. All right, he'll throw punches and combinations while he's switching, while in mid transition of stance. Okay, he's an extremely high level striker, and you're going to see that on full display this weekend. Okay, because in his last fight, he didn't get a chance to display that because he fought a very, very smothering grappler in Islam Makhachev, and as you see, he only landed 18 significant strikes. So I promise you, you're going to have a Jack Della Maddalena who's fighting in his home continent over there in Australia, who is going to be very, very hungry to show his stuff and to show what he does best, which is throw his hands. Okay, so we're going to get down in here to his last five matchups, right? And the one I broke down ad nauseum, like I've told you numerous times, is that one versus Gilbert Burns. I'm just going to go right to it. You know, Gilbert's my boy, so I got to. This is a fight that was not as back and forth as I wanted to believe when I watched it initially after I went back and watched it again. JDM was, like I said, it was target practice. Like I said a little bit earlier, this was one of those fights where it looked like he would just work in the bag at some points against Gilbert Burns. Gilbert, he landed 7 takedowns, but it was, I want to say it was only for 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, it was well less than a minute each time that he took JDM down. And JDM showed great grit and great resilience because he had every opportunity to just kind of lay there and lose minutes, but no, he fought to his feet every time, and he let his hands go. As you see, 67 strikes here in this fight. I'll highlight the fight I'm talking about now. Try to without clicking on anything. There you go. Yeah, just an awesome fight. A good fight to go back on and watch if you're going to do any tape study. Ooh, I did open that fight up. So we're going to go back here. Okay. I apologize, guys. I got a little bounced around there. But either way, I'll just keep going on it, and I'll find myself here in a minute. JDM, no, he's the kind of striker that will give anyone problems. And there was just a lot of people pointing at that fight when they were going into when Gilbert was going into his last fight against Mike Malott, and I was just telling everyone that's not a fair fight to compare. It's not fair to throw that fight out when comparing. You can't compare Jack Della Maddalena versus Mike Malott. Okay, striking is completely different. So, anyways, here we go. I backed it up. I found where I was at. I apologize. Thank you for everyone who's rocking with me and bearing with me. Now, Islam, terrible look. Bilal Muhammad, he looked a lot more like himself. These are the 2 fights that I have teed up that we're going to get into here in a minute. But I do want to go back on down here to the Kevin Holland fight. This is a fight that this is one that I did feel, it was a split decision. I feel like Kevin Holland may have won this fight, and it wasn't the best look for Jack. And this is a fight that I feel like the reason he had a hard time was the length. If you look at a lot of these opponents that JDM has fought, they have not been as big as Kevin Holland. Randy Brown is the exception, and he put it on him, but we all know the form Randy Brown's been in. Excuse me, but a lot of these gentlemen who JDM has fought, they're right around his height or a little bit shorter, right? I mean, I think he has an inch or so on Angelusa, who he came out of. Pete Rodriguez is about 5'9", 5'10". Ramazan, he's a bit taller. He's about 5'11". Okay, and we're going to dig into that a little bit too about what he does when he's fighting those opponents, which I find to be extremely smart. Right, so we're going to move on over here to Bilal. Remember the decision. Always got to poke fun at Bilal, right? Bilal Muhammad versus JDM. This was a fight that I feel Bilal just had a terrible game plan going into it. Not a good game plan. I feel like he was just kind of just reading a little bit of his own news clippings, as they say, right? And just watching his own highlights a little bit too much, just watching those breakdowns about himself from other people, just loving on him. And maybe not. Maybe it's just the kind of guy he is, and just, because Bilal's extremely confident, but he wanted to go in there and strike with JDM, and he said it leading up to this fight the entire time. And I thought he was, quite frankly, I thought he was just kind of playing around and just trying to throw JDM off. But no, he stood a majority of this fight with JDM. As you see, Bilal Muhammad only attempted 9 takedowns in a 5-round fight. You're never going to beat Jack like that. Not if you're a Bilal Muhammad. And a lot of your game is predicated on volume grappling, right? So I feel like that number should have been doubled. I feel like he should have been near 20 takedown attempts to be just slowing JDM down and reducing this volume. And as you see here, I'll highlight it for you. I mean, look at that, 178 for 342. That is outrageous. I mean, and that if you're shooting more and attempting more takedowns, right? I mean, that number comes down. It's a little more even, right? You were right around 318 yourself. So I question the game plan from Belal Muhammad going into this fight, right? And we go a little bit deeper. And these guys, it was a boxing match, right? I mean, they were headhunting. I mean, both north of 250 strikes attempted to the head, and Belal, he attempted 318 significant strikes total, right? And now listen to me, 297 of them he attempted at the head. You can't fight like that, and he knows that. Bilal's a much smarter fighter than that. So that was just interesting. It's just interesting, very very interesting look from him. You got to mix up the target. You have to. Leg. He only attempted 3 leg strikes. So you're telling 3 leg kicks against JDM, who has phenomenal movement, phenomenal hand speed. That's it. I don't understand it. It was not a good look. Was not a good look from Belal Muhammad in that fight whatsoever. I mean, he had Jack Della Maddalena looking like the best striker in the UFC in that fight. So that is enough of that fight. And then when he did get him down, like we talked about in the previous fight against Gilbert Burns, when I was talking about that a second ago, only 3 minutes of control time on 3 takedowns. You got to hold people down longer than that. You just have to, especially if you know that's your game, right? So on to this next one here, which is Islam. This is one where JDM really didn't look like himself, and a lot of that had to do with Islam keeping him away from his game, which is something that Belal, failed to do in the last fight that we just talked about. So look at this. 4 of 4 on takedowns for Islam with 19 minutes of control time. Now, obviously, 2 completely different grapplers. I get that. But Islam was just a lot more disciplined in this fight. I just feel like if Belal would have stayed disciplined in the same way, he would have had more success. I don't know if the 6 unsuccessful takedowns is what deterred him in that fight, but I don't know. I feel like you just keep knocking on that door. Eventually, someone's going to open it up, right? Just keep going to it, especially if that's your game. 188 total strikes for Islam, only 57 of them being significant. So he was in there, throwing pillows around. Basically, he wasn't doing much damage with his strikes. And as you see, Jack was throwing when he was on his feet. When he was upright, he was doing his best. He was only upright and had a fighting chance for 6 minutes out of a 25-minute fight, which has got to be extremely frustrating. If you go back and watch that fight, JDM did have an extremely frustrated look on his face going back to his corner over and over again in this fight, which understandably so. But I mean, the moment just looked like it was way too much for him, and it's unfortunate because this was his first title defense, right? So wins the title from Belal in the last fight, turns around and loses it to Islam in this fight. So that's just how the dice fall sometimes, right? That's how it goes. So I mean, yeah, he's just one of those fighters there that didn't get an opportunity to really be the champion and defend that belt. So we're gonna see if he can sorry, I don't know if my wife just woke up or someone's knocking at the door, but we're gonna keep on rocking and rolling here and go on to this next section that I have for you here, which is JDM's striking stats. So, as you know, we've talked about it a few times, right? Distance strikes landed to the body, to the head, and to the legs. That's the order from left to right when you're reading this screen. Once again, whenever you're trying to look into fights, put your hard-earned cash that you go to work for and just put it on a sports book, right, and hope. Do a little bit of research, please. Just Google ESPN stats. It doesn't take long. It's not much. Now, the main thing I want to point out here, I'm not going to go down through every fight, but I am going to highlight fights against Kevin Holland and fights against Razman Ameev. Because Kevin Holland is on the taller side. Kevin Holland had a little bit of height on JDM. And if you see here, he was much more accurate to the body than anywhere else. Well, legs. Head body, I should say. Head body, break that up. He was much more accurate to the body than he was to the head in that fight. And a lot of that has to do with, I feel, just the height difference. JDM he's really good at finding the body against opponents who are his height or a little bit taller. Pete Rodriguez, I want to say Pete Rodriguez is about his height, looking him right in the eye, about 5'10", 83% of the body, right? 5'6", but still just digging that body. Go to Razman Ameev, second to the bottom here, 70%, right? Same thing. So he's just a fighter that is very, very good. And if you look across the board in general, 50, 22, 50, right, for body, head, leg against Islam. You go down to the next fight, Bilal, 72, 44, 78, body, leg, head. 60, 52, 100 against Gilbert Burns. Just great balance. Great balance. I mean, you watch him fight, you see that too. He mixes up the target beautifully. I mean, JDM, you're going to see that Saturday. If Carlos don't put him down early, which is a possibility, okay, because Carlos Prates has that knockout power. If Carlos don't put him down early, he definitely has the ability to just mix it up and frustrate Prates all fight long. And the numbers show you that. I mean, he's not one just praying with that right hand. That is not Carlos Prates whatsoever. Now, enough of the numbers. That is the deep dive. Okay, I mean, I don't want to go too crazy. You are still getting the prediction show on Thursday, but I do want to go over one last section here, which is my most anticipated fights for this weekend on Saturday at UFC Perth. It's actually kind of exciting. We're going to be able to watch it before I go into work. Really interesting, right? I'm usually working and I miss the prelims, so this is kind of a little bit of a change. I get to watch the fights before I go into work. So who knows? You might get a round three recap from the break room at work. I don't know. I might feel a little froggy. But I'm going to go all the way down here to the bottom. Cody Steele and Don Marfan. I like Cody Steele a lot. Cody Steele is a very, very high-level grappler, but he likes to throw his hands. Excuse me. He's not your traditional jiu-jitsu guy, okay? He's not going to get in there and press no one against no cage and just try to lay and pray. No, this guy's going to look to throw some bombs. You know, he's 5'9", 156. He's compact. He likes, he's built like a little bodybuilder, and as you see, he lands 4 significant strikes a minute. You know, and it's a little bit skewed because he doesn't have that many fights in the UFC. But I mean, if you watch this guy fight overall, I mean, he's a striker. He's a striker first. You know, he has that grappling base, so it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Marfan, I want to say he trains with Jack Jenkins. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, this is one that I might actually wake up at 4 in the morning and watch this one and then go back to bed. Who knows? But yeah, keep that in mind too. Yeah, prelims start this weekend at 4 a.m., which is ridiculous. And I want to say that the main card starts at 7 a.m. So I'm definitely catching the main card. I'm usually up at, I don't know, between 5 and 6 in the morning anyways. So I'll definitely watch the main card and probably at least catch some of the prelims. Who knows, guys? I might just be able to watch the whole thing. I have no idea. We're going to move on up here. Come on now. We going to see a shoey? Are we going to see a shoey? Tai Tuivasa, I want to say he's on a 5-fight losing streak. And I think the UFC just might snap it with Louis Sutherland. I'm taking Tuivasa this week. I think he's got to get a win, right? He's got to get one more before he's done, right? I mean, he's only 33, so I think he probably does have a few more fights left in him, but come on, Tai. I mean, maybe more so rooting than picking in this fight, but, Louis Sutherland was my underdog lock of the week a handful of weeks ago in that UFC London card, and he laid an egg for me. So forget Louis Sutherland. Give me Tai Tuivasa, all right? We're going to move on up to this one because I just feel like, just to give you a little more on this, Tai Tuivasa, if he just works on his takedown game at all, right, at all, if he can just stay upright and land a couple heavy strikes, he's going to win this fight. He's going to win this fight. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Elliott versus Steve Erceg. Jim Elliott versus Steve Erceg. Look, I didn't even know this fight was on the card until I dug into it with Chase on Sunday. I mean, this fight is going to be absolutely awesome. Absolutely great. So don't miss it. You got Steve Erceg, who's a good grappler, but he prefers to strike. And Tim Elliott is a smaller grappler. I mean, you can look at it. 3.71 takedown averages per 15 minutes. So we're going to see who can get into their world, because Erceg has great jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to be interested to see if he tries to just kind of lay on his back and finish, or if he's really looking to work to get back to his feet. Old man Benny at this point, right? Touch of gray, just for men, touch of gray Benny, right? I mean, that's Benny Dariush. Not a good look in his last fight. I want to say it was against Benoit Saint Denis, and he got knocked out extremely quick. But his fight before that was against Money Moicano, and I took him in that fight. Everyone was against him. He was I want to say maybe like a 2-1 dog, and I was on him in that fight. And that was when I want to say I took him by decision. So that was a good look, but can't say I'm doing the same here. I mean, he's going against a guy who's 10 years younger. You know, he's going to be outgunned and outsized. So this is one. Yeah, this is one I'm having a really hard time finding a path to victory for Benny Dariush. I mean, even with the grappling, I think this is when you're getting put on a co-main event spot after you're getting knocked out against a younger opponent, in his hometown, it's kind of a setup. So you know how this goes, though. We're gonna see if Benny Dariush can spoil the party for Quinlan Salkild, I believe is how you pronounce that name. And then right here at the top, man, like I said, I have not been more excited for a fight all year long, and I don't think I'm going to again. I mean, I cannot wait until this fight happens. So yeah. I mean, you can look at the numbers here and look at how they match up. And I'm going to be digging into it much deeper on Sunday. On Thursday, and then we're going to be recapping it on Sunday, Chase and I. So thanks for rocking with me. That's all I have for you. Okay, that's going to be the matchup. Please don't miss it. Once again, prelims start at 4 a.m. Main card starts at 7 a.m. Wife just woke up. Dog needs to go for a walk. I think I'm going to throw some meat on the grill. It's a super nice day out. Appreciate all you guys. Seriously, it's been such an awesome ride. And like I said, if you're here now, my first, under 100 subscribers right now, this is just the beginning, guys. This is just the beginning. Okay? So I'll see you next time in round 3.